Hey Scorpio, and welcome to your monthly reading. So this is for Scorpio sun or rising sign for the month of August 2023. So of the tarot readings that I put out every month, this is the more extended version. So we really lay out what the month looks like, how it's going to progress, challenge, advice, theme, area of life that's really coming up. So, and you're what's up, Scorpio, first house, you're what's up. Also, I will say that the astrological highlights video, if you're curious about like how this connects in with what's happening astrologically, the first half of August highlights are up. That video I will link at the end of this video, so you can check it out here. I'll also put a link down in the description box. So that's out. Plus, we're starting out the beginning of this month with a full moon in Aquarius in tropical astrology. And if you have been a part of my channel, you'll know that I do semi-bi-weekly videos going from full to new moon and then from new to full. So we start off with a full moon to new moon. So the same day that these are out, those videos will be out. And those are more bite-sized. Those are probably about like 5 to 6 minutes-ish on average. So that's going to be out as well. So lots to check out at the beginning of this month. Lots to look at, Scorpio. So let's take a look at what's coming up for you throughout this month, right? So as always, there's interesting stuff happening. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this unfolds. So we're taking a look at the beginning. Ooh, okay. Middle and end of the month for you. Slid right off my table. Okay. These are just like flying right out for you guys. All right, so this is what we got for the beginning, middle, and end of the month, Scorpio. And then let's also just pull really quickly for what kind of challenge is coming up. Something that's probably going to feel prominent, like an undercurrent that is running through the month. And we have with that the 5 of Cups, okay. And what kind of spiritual advice, we call it divinatory guidance, whatever is resonant for you, but some guidance, we shall say. All right. We have the 8 of Swords, okay. All right, Scorpio. You're not scared of the 8 of Swords, I know that. So, okay. Let's take a look first at what area of life this is like feeling like is most up, that is kind of coming through and coming into focus for you this month. And it's you, it's the house of you, the first house, right? The first house has to do with your, like, of all of the houses in the chart, it's the one that represents you. It's when you came into this world, when you were born. This is where your ascendant sign is, right? So this is your rising sign, is the first house. And this basically represents you, your mental state, your physical state. So you mentally, physically, this represents you. So this is about you. The focus is on you for this month, Scorpio. And so we start out at the beginning of the month with the Knight of Cups, move into the 6 of Cups, and then end out with the 5 of Swords, which I think is really interesting given that we have what we have going on here for the advice and for the challenge. But let's get going. It feels armored, not gonna lie. Feels guarded. Feels like there's some stuff that's up. So once again, this is for your rising or your sun sign. So if you're watching for your sun sign and you're like, not feeling super resonant, then maybe go watch your rising sign and check that out instead. Keep in mind, this is a collective reading, so it's not going to land, of course, for every single Scorpio. So if you really are wanting to know something very specific to your life, you want something that's really accurate, then I'm always going to recommend a one-to-one reading, whether that's with me or anyone else, but I am taking bookings for that. So you can find that information down below. I have different, types of readings. So Knight of Cups is how we're starting out at the beginning of this month. And so with the Knight of Cups, I'm just going to say that the Knights are all of them are about forward movement and action. All of them are. all of the nights. And depending on their element, which right now we have the cups, we have water, they all take action in very different ways. So the way in which the Knight of Cups moves forward and takes action in life is by way of choosing to move towards, to go towards what feels good. And that sounds really simplistic, but for some people that can be just like really challenging. It's almost like it's too simple, but it's also really profound. If you've never experimented with this in your life, I highly, highly recommend. But moving towards doing more of the things like on small and larger levels that feel good to you, the things that fill your cup, the things that fill your cup with the cups, but the things that fill your cup, the things that feel good to your heart, the things that light up your heart, the things that feel like they are of value, you know. And with that, I think it's just really relevant for having the Venus retrograde that we're in. We're in it for the entire month, right? So I think this is relevant. We're coming into the beginning of the month. We're already in Venus retrograde. So, you know, I think that at the beginning of the month, the beginning third of the month, there is this highlighted like path in front of you that's saying, hey, like, reevaluate the things that do bring you joy, the things that do bring you happiness, the things that do fill your heart, that light it up, and move towards more of the things that feel the way that you want to feel in life, that feel good. Say yes to more of those things. Obviously, that's not a blanket statement. It's not like a free-for-all. So be judicious, be conscious, be also discerning and conscientious of your impact of the people around you in your life. Not to say that that should also stop you completely, but like, let's take all things into account, right? So we move into the middle of the month and we have the Six of Cups. You know, given the fact that we are going to be having both Venus is retrograde, like I said, all month, but also Mercury is going to be retrograde. Both of these personal planets can tend to sometimes bring people in from our past, sometimes meant to stoke nostalgia for inspiration's sake, for a reason to help us kind of be goaded onto the path that is like best served for us and that is of our highest like intention and good. So there might be people that come in from your past friends, past lovers, past people that are either there to come back into your life or there momentarily to remind you of certain things, to give you some kind of insight, to stoke some kind of epiphanies, to evoke those. And so that's something that's happening in the middle third of the month. Also, I will just say, because it is a lovely feeling card, we do have, if there's anything I'm going to say to check out with the astrological highlights video, I would definitely say make sure to check out the August 13th timestamp, because we'll have Venus Cazimi on that day, and with the sun in its home sign of Leo, it's just like things are amplified in a very good way. It's kind of like an auspicious day out of the entire month. I would be like, that's the day to pay attention to. And so like bringing in these really good feelings, like, you know, the thing about nostalgia and remembering what it was like when we were younger and more free and unencumbered and feeling curious and exploratory when it came to life, right? Like there is this kind of youthful innocence and playfulness that can really come back in as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just like people that are showing up, but it can also just be like the reminder of times such as those. And like the times where you like had time to watch the clouds go by overhead and that was something that felt good, or like watching the grass grow kind of thing, you know, that kind of vibe. So that comes through in the middle third of the month, and I think that that might be related to that particular date. Also, we're taking a look at the last third of the month. It's a little more challenging, right? Like, so we have the Five of Swords showing up here. There is some kind of contention, some kind of confrontation or conflict that is occurring. And so you know, I would say, like, again, with retrogrades and with Mercury being retrograde, that can affect communication for some people. The reason, by the way, that the retrogrades don't affect people the same way is because it depends on where in your natal chart it's hitting. it could be hitting an area of your life where it's like not really affecting very much, and it's not like harshly aspecting other planets in your natal chart, and that's why you're like, I don't know, it's just not a big deal for me. So it could be nothing, you know. So for some of you, it could really, you could really feel it. Like you could be like, oh no, I feel the Mercury retrograde, right? So wherever it is in your chart, you might be somebody who's actually experiencing this in a way that feels a little bit more intense, you know. So the other thing about the Five of Swords is like there is this, if you come into an experience where you're at odds with another person or other people, be conscientious about the way that you choose to, like, if you're wanting to win an argument for argument's sake or be a devil's advocate for devil's advocate's sake and not arguing in good faith, if you are being contentious yourself and you're just like, I want to win at any cost. That's the vibe of this card. It's like, I want to win at any cost. I don't care who I have to step over. I don't care if I have to bulldoze somebody else's feelings just to be right. I want to be right. But it's like, you win. If you do win, if you're on the winning side, it's like you won, but at what cost? Like now you've done some like possibly irreparable damage to a connection, you know? So like just be aware of this. The other side of this is that you could be in a position now, again, because this is not a one-to-one reading, you know, like we're looking at this collectively. So I like to give you more than one perspective so that it can apply to as many people as possible. You could be on the other side of this, where this could actually be, you know, pointing to a loss. And, you know, that's the other thing about the Five of Swords. The Five of Swords can show you being the loser in the situation. So for those of you who might have like legal things actually coming up, make sure that you're really like going over everything. Make sure that you're doing the best that you can, you know, to like assess the situation properly. But even if it's not legal, I would just say like, hey, there's some stuff coming up. Might want to like watch yourself, be more conscious of how you proceed through any kinds of confrontational situations. Be as conscious as you can with your communications, and how you go about anything like that. So we come into the challenge, and for the challenge we have the Five of Cups. So this is definitely like, hey, you cannot continue to dwell on time wasted, past mistakes and regrets, the spilled milk card, right? Like this is, you know, the thing about the Five of Cups is that normally in like the more traditional decks, what you'll see is there are three cups in front of the person that have like spilled out, the liquid contents have like spilled out before them, and they're just looking down and focused completely on what has spilled. Meanwhile, right behind them, there are two other chalices that are completely filled. So it's like, it's kind of that half full type of thing. It's like, yeah, okay, like some mistakes have happened. Some things they're done with already though. Like you might have made mistakes or had regrets or disappointment around things not turning out the way that maybe you wanted them to with regard to yourself. Again, we're looking at you with regard to yourself, your life, your dreams, your visions, your aspirations, your hopes, your body, your whatever it is. And so like where you want to be at this point, whatever, you know, things that we come up with that we hold ourselves accountable to. And the idea here is like, hey, that might feel really challenging to turn your gaze away from that. But what you're being reminded of here is that despite the fact that that can feel really challenging, you need to acknowledge what is working, where you do have things that are worthy of recognition and celebration and acknowledgement in your own life. Like there are full cups in your life, even if there are some that have spilled. And so that might feel challenging. You might feel like that's something, especially when we're in a month like this, where things are really up for review and may just be coming up naturally. It's natural that we might look at where we have fallen short of what we've wanted to accomplish or do, right? So the spiritual advice, the divinatory guidance that comes through is the Eight of Swords. I actually really love that the Eight of Swords is coming through as some advice, because it's essentially, I think, also speaking to this card. And it's just like overall, it's for the month, but definitely I feel like it's speaking to this card, because the Eight of Swords is basically saying like, hey, you are not seeing things clearly. You're like, this is a time to question your beliefs that are limiting, your If you feel like you've been pinned or backed into a corner, or like you're trapped in some kind of way, or like a situation or whatever it is, like this is basically saying, I would question that. I would question that, and gonna just call it out false. Like you're not having a really clear perspective. The Eight of Swords is like basically pointing to how when sometimes in life we trap ourselves in a prison of our own making, mentally and emotionally, right? Or even physically in situations, right? But it starts mentally and emotionally, right? We're just like, I have no other options. I have no way out. I have no other way of doing things. It's only this path, or only this or this, it's black or white. And like the fact of the matter is that that's not the case. When we drop that and we're willing to be curious and widen our perspective and see that there are way more choices and possibilities that are available to us, that's when we can really start to see like, oh wow, like I was totally cornering myself in this way. Now, here's the thing. A lot of times we disregard some of the choices that are available to us because we don't like the way that this path looks, or it's like this might be a harder road, or like I don't like that I would have to take this challenge on, right? So it's like they might not be perfect, so we just kind of disregard those as like those aren't even options. I would encourage you to go back and see, like sometimes there is a pathway through to get to where we want to go, and along the way this is like we have to take like a step that looks like maybe it's a step to the side, or a step kind of like to the side and back. And it's like, we might see it as a little bit of a setback, but it's really a stepping stone to get us a little bit higher, because we're going to need to cross like over a bridge or something like that. We need to be able to hop across. I don't know if you can follow that imagery. That's totally in my mind. But essentially it's like, look, sometimes we need to take these detours that eventually lead us back around to being on the path that is where we wanted to go in the same direction. It just may not be the exact pathway, like following the exact footsteps that we had originally envisioned. So there are more possibilities and choices available to you. Get creative. Like when we're in a space of curiosity and openness and willingness to consider options that may not be the most optimal or exactly what we want, we can then get really creative about how we choose to move forward. It's like I hear it so often, so many times. I have heard friends do this. I've done this. I'm human. This is why I can recognize it, right? But like I have definitely heard so many times with like, there's nothing I can do. This is it. Like, it's only this, or I have other people to account for. And it's like, yes, you do have other people to account for. And yes, you're in a situation that is somewhat challenging and limiting in certain ways. And also you can get really creative about how you go forward. You can have like candid conversations with people in your life, and you can get people on like enrolled in what your vision is to move forward in a different way. So like there's so much more possibility than we usually perceive. And a lot of times we take for granted that if there are people around us that need to be on board with this, that, that we can't have conversations around that. And so we just leave it alone and never consider those options, right? So this is what I'm telling you. This is like this long scenic route way of me saying, question your limiting beliefs. Question when you come up against and you feel confronted by a blockage, or feeling stuck, or feeling like you're pinned down or backed into a corner, question whether you're really seeing things as they really are, or whether you're seeing them through the filter of the story that you've created about it, or just like completely closed off to it because of any kinds of limiting beliefs that might be in the way. Really open up that box, really unpack that, right? So that's what I have for you, Scorpio. I hope that this feels helpful. I will have up on the screen, if it's not up already, the astrological highlights video, so you can pop over there. I definitely recommend. There are a couple of starred days that I think are important in that video, and you can always, since it's timestamped, come back to it throughout the the first half of the month and just like check back with it. So that said, if you felt like this was insightful or helpful in any kind of way, please consider giving the video a like. It does help me with the algorithm gods and helps me to be seen by more people and expand this as I'm trying to grow this channel. And while you're at it, maybe hit the like and subscribe button. It is also there to ensure that you don't miss out on any of the content as it comes out. So, and also reminder, those full moon to new moon videos, those are going to be out on the same day that you'll see these out. So thank you so much for your time. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.